Liam has always been an observant boy. He wasn't the most popular kid in school, but that never bothered him. He preferred to keep to himself, but he always noticed what was going on around him. That's how one day, during recess, he noticed something he had never noticed before. While all his classmates were sitting on the benches, laughing and eating their snacks, a girl stood alone with nothing in her hands. It was Ava. She always seemed to try to go unnoticed, as if she wanted to disappear into the back of the room. Liam had never spoken to her, but something about that scene made him uncomfortable. He watched her, sitting with her arms crossed over her stomach, staring at the floor. The next day, the same scene repeated itself. Ava sat in the same corner, without a snack, without talking to anyone. Liam felt a tightness in his chest and decided he needed to do something. During lunch at home, he told his mother, "Mom, there's a girl at my school who never brings her snack. She's always alone, and she looks hungry." Liam's mother, a kind woman, stopped what she was doing and looked at him with concern. "How sad. And the teachers, don't they help?" "I don't think she says anything. She just stays quiet, as if she's used to it." Liam's mother sighed and smiled. "Then tomorrow I'll make you an extra snack to take. If she accepts, you can deliver it. No one should go hungry, least of all a child." Liam's eyes lit up. "Really, Mom? Thanks." The next morning, Liam left the house carrying 2 snacks, one for himself and one for Ava. When the recess bell rang, he looked to the corner of the playground, and there she was, sitting alone. Taking a deep breath, he walked over and held out a carefully wrapped package. "Hey, Ava, my mom made an extra snack. Want some?" Ava looked at the package in surprise. She hesitated, and for a moment Liam thought she would refuse. But then her eyes met his, saw the sincerity there, and she accepted. "Thank you, Liam," she said softly, holding the package with trembling hands. "No need to thank me. My mom always makes too much food anyway," he replied with a smile. When Ava opened the package and took the first bite, Liam felt something warm in his chest. Seeing the relief on her face made him realize that a small gesture can make a big difference. And unbeknownst to him, that day he had begun a friendship that would change their lives forever. The next day, Liam couldn't help but glance in Ava's direction as he entered the schoolyard. He wondered if she would accept the snack again, or if the gesture from the previous day had just been a coincidence. To his surprise, when their eyes met, Ava gave a small, shy smile before looking down at the ground. It was the first time he had seen her smile. When the recess bell rang, Liam opened his backpack and took out 2 snacks, just like the day before. With careful steps, he walked over to where Ava was sitting. "My mom made an extra snack again," he said, holding out the package. Ava looked at him, then at the snack. "Are you sure?" he asked hesitantly. "Sure. If I don't give it to you, my mom will ask me later if you liked it," he joked, trying to lighten the mood. She laughed softly, a sound almost imperceptible, but it made Liam feel good. Accepting the snack, he opened the package and took a bite, chewing slowly, as if he wanted to savor every bite. "Thank you, Liam," she said after a few seconds, without looking up. "No need to thank me. It's just a snack." "No, it's not just that," Ava murmured, without explaining further. Liam realized that this small gesture meant much more to her than he imagined. Over the next few days, he continued to bring extra snacks and give them to Ava at recess. Little by little, the girl began to open up more. She still spoke little, but now she seemed more comfortable around him. "Do you always sit here?" Liam asked one day, pulling up a chair next to her. "It's easier," Ava replied, absent-mindedly picking at her sandwich. "If I'm in the middle of everyone else, they'll ask questions, and I don't like that." Liam didn't need to ask to understand. He knew how cruel some kids could be when they saw someone different or who didn't fit in. "Well, if you want company, now's your time," he said, shrugging and taking a bite of his own sandwich. Ava looked up and stared at him for a moment. You don't mind? About what? About what people will say. About you being with me. Liam laughed. I'm not very popular anyway, so it doesn't matter. Ava let out a light, sincere laugh. For the first time, Liam noticed that her eyes had a different shine. It wasn't just gratitude for the snack. It was the beginning of a friendship that, until that moment, neither of them knew how important it would be. And so, a simple snack became the first step towards a connection that would change their lives. The days went by, and what began as a simple this gesture became a habit. Every morning, before leaving for school, Liam would grab 2 snacks from the kitchen, one for him and one for Ava. His mother, who already knew the story, started preparing something special for both of them. Do you think she likes bread with cheese? She asked one morning as she spread butter on the bread. I think so, but she loved that chocolate cake you made yesterday, Liam replied excitedly. His mother laughed. So today there's another piece for her. When recess came, Liam already knew where to find Ava. She was there in the usual corner waiting, but unlike before, now her look was not one of sadness and discouragement. He saw a little hope in her eyes. Here's your snack for today, he said, holding out the package. Ava took the package carefully, as if she were holding something very valuable. Thank you, she said, smiling slightly. Every day, their friendship grew. Before, Ava always ate alone, but now Liam made a point of sitting next to her. They started talking about little things, their teachers there, tests, the cartoons they liked to watch. Ava once confessed, I never had a real friend at school. Liam was surprised. What do you mean? Not even when you were younger. She shook her head. I was always the quiet girl. The other kids think it's weird when someone doesn't talk much. Liam understood. He himself had never been the talkative type, but he had never felt left out because of it. Now he was starting to notice how different it was for Ava. Well, now you have a friend, he said with a smile. Ava lowered her head, but Liam could tell she was smiling. But not everyone saw it in a good light. Some kids at school started to notice their friendship and whisper, Is Liam hanging out with that weird girl now? He heard one of his classmates say one day. Does he like her? Another one said, laughing. Liam tried to ignore it. He didn't care what they thought. But he noticed that Ava was starting to keep to herself again. The next day, at recess, she wasn't in her usual spot. Liam felt a tightness in his chest. Was she trying to distance herself because of the comments? He looked for her and found her sitting alone, in an even more secluded corner of the playground. Hey, why did you change seats? He asked, sitting down next to her. Ava hesitated, picking at her snack without looking him in the eye. I don't want people to laugh at you because of me. Liam crossed his arms. And who said I care about that? Ava looked at him in surprise. But I like talking to you. And if it bothers other people, that's their problem. She was silent for a few seconds, but then smiled. You really don't care, do you? No, Liam replied, opening his own snack. Now stop running away and tell me. Do you prefer chocolate cake or strawberry cake? My mom wants to know. Ava laughed and went back to eating. And so, that bond that seemed fragile began to grow even stronger. The days continued to pass, and the bond between Liam and Ava grew stronger and stronger. They began to sit together not only during recess, but also in class. Their friendship was simple, but true. One night, during dinner, Liam's mother noticed how much he talked about Ava. And how is your friend? She asked, pouring a little more juice into his glass. She's fine, but... Liam paused, fiddling with his fork on his plate. But what? I think she and her mother are having a hard time. She never brings a snack to school. And when I asked her, she changed the subject. Liam's mother frowned, worried. This is serious, son. If she doesn't have enough food, it might be that things at home aren't easy at all. I know. That's why I wanted to ask you a favor. His mother raised her eyebrows, waiting for him to continue. Could you make her a bigger snack? Something that will last until night. I don't think she eats much after school. Liam's mother was silent for a moment, absorbing her son's request. Then she smiled warmly. Sure, honey. If she needs it, we'll help. The next day, Liam left the house holding a larger-than-normal snack bag. He couldn't wait to give it to Ava. When recess came, he ran over to where she always was. Here, he said, holding the bag out to her. Ava looked at him confused. What's this? My mom made you a special snack. It's a bigger sandwich, a piece of cake, and even some juice. She hesitated, holding the bag carefully. Does your mom know you're making this? It was her idea. She wants you to eat well. Ava's eyes lit up, and for a moment, she didn't know what to say. No one has ever done anything like this for me, she murmured, holding the bag tightly. Liam smiled. Now they have. She gave a shy smile and began to eat. With each bite, Liam saw how that gesture, which seemed small to him, it meant a lot to her. After recess, as they walked back to the classroom, Ava looked at Liam and said, Thank you. But not just for the snack. Thank you for caring. Liam gave her a playful shove on the shoulder. You can stop thanking me so much. There's more tomorrow. Ava laughed, and for the first time, Liam noticed that her smile no longer carried the shadow of sadness that had always been there. The days went on, and little by little, Ava began to change. She was no longer the girl who always huddled in the corner, trying to go unnoticed. Her gaze no longer carried the same weight as before. Now she smiled more. She talked more. And Liam noticed that, instead of just accepting the snack and hiding, she started to wait for him. When recess came, she would look in his direction before he even approached. What do we have today? She asked, smiling, as she received the package carefully prepared by Liam's mother. Cheese sandwich, carrot cake, and strawberry juice. He replied, feigning mystery. Carrot cake? Ava's eyes widened. That's my favorite. I know, Liam said, winking at her. I told my mom. She took the snack carefully and held it as if it were something precious. I think your mom is an angel. Well, I don't know about angel, but she's a good cook. The two laughed and began to eat together. It was a simple moment, but for Ava, it was one of the best moments of the day. One afternoon, Liam arrived for recess and noticed that Ava wasn't in her usual spot. His heart raced. Had something happened? He looked for her and found her sitting alone near the garden, staring at the ground. Hey, why didn't you wait for me? He asked, sitting next to her. Ava sighed. I have to tell you something. Liam felt a tightness in his chest. What is it? She hesitated for a moment before answering. I'm moving. He blinked, not quite understanding. What do you mean? To where? My mom got a job in another city. We're moving at the end of the month. Liam was silent. He didn't know what to say. For so long, Ava had been part of his routine, his life. And now, she was just going to leave? When were you going to tell me? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. I didn't want to tell you yet. Ava confessed, but I don't think it's right to hide it from you. Liam looked away, trying to process the news. And will we see each other again? Ava forced a sad smile. I hope so, but I don't know. The silence between them was heavy. For the first time, Liam felt that the time they spent together was limited. And he realized something else. He didn't want Ava to leave. But instead of saying that, he just took a deep breath and smiled. Then we'll enjoy every break until then. Ava smiled, her eyes shining. Yes, we will. And in that moment, without either of them realizing it, their friendship became even more special. The next few days passed in a blur for Liam. He knew that every moment with Ava was becoming a silent goodbye, but he tried to act normal. He didn't want her to see how much it affected him. During recess, they continued to sit together, sharing laughs and snacks, as if nothing was changing. But deep down, they both felt the weight of the countdown. One afternoon, as they walked home from school, Ava finally broke the silence. I wish things were different, she said, kicking a pebble on the sidewalk. Liam looked at her and sighed. Me too, but I promise I'll write to you. He laughed, trying to hide his sadness. You know no one writes letters anymore, right? Then I'll text you, she corrected, smiling. But only if you promise to write back. I promise. The day of their goodbyes came faster than Liam expected. That morning, he woke up with a knot in his stomach. He knew that by the end of the day, Ava would be gone forever. He wanted to do something special, but he didn't know what. That's when he had an idea. He ran to the kitchen and asked his mother to help him prepare a special snack. Something that Ava could take with her and remember them by. Her mother, understanding the importance of this moment, prepared her favorite snack, carrot cake with chocolate frosting and a fancy sandwich. During recess, Liam handed the package to Ava. This is the last snack of our tradition, he said, forcing a smile. Ava took the package with shaking hands. I'll miss you, Liam. He tried to answer, but his throat closed up. Me too, Ava. She stepped forward and hugged him. It was quick but full of meaning. See you later, she said, stepping back. See you later. And with that, Ava was gone, leaving Liam with a strange emptiness in his chest. On the way home, he looked at the bench where they used to sit during recess. And there, he realized something. A simple snack had created a friendship that would never be forgotten. He just didn't know that years later, that friendship would come back to change his life in ways he never imagined. Years passed and life went on. Liam grew up, finished school, and entered the job market. Now he worked at a technology company, trying to build his career. The routine was intense, full of tight deadlines and important meetings. Despite the time, he never forgot Ava. In the first months after her departure, they exchanged a few messages, but over time, contact became increasingly rare. Adult life pulled them in opposite directions, and Liam eventually accepted that he might never see her again. One morning, he arrived at the office and found his boss, Mr. Carter, with a tense expression. Liam, I need to talk to you, the boss said, calling him to his office. Liam felt butterflies in his stomach. Yes, sir. We're about to close a very important contract with Harper Industries. This deal could determine the future of the company. But there's one problem, Liam swallowed hard. What happened? We had a miscommunication and gave them the wrong date for the meeting with their CEO. They came yesterday, but no one met them. Now they're furious. Liam's eyes widened. That's really bad. Yes, and that's why I need you to fix it. You have 3 days to fix this situation and secure this contract. If we fail, it will be a disaster. Liam felt the weight of responsibility fall on his shoulders. I'll do my best. He spent the entire day reviewing reports, tweaking proposals, and trying to get another meeting with Harper Industries executives. But they seemed adamant. When he finally got a time for one last attempt, anxiety overcame him. It would be his only chance to save the contract, and maybe his job. The next day, he put on his best suit, grabbed his briefcase, and headed to the luxurious building that housed Harper Industries. When he reached the reception desk, he announced his name and waited to be called. His heart was pounding. The CEO is already expecting you, the receptionist informed him. Liam took a deep breath and walked into the meeting room, ready to face that decisive moment. But when he looked at the conference table and saw who was sitting in the main chair, his world stopped. It was Ava, the same Ava he hadn't seen in years. But now, she was no longer the shy girl who sat alone during recess. She was different, more confident, wearing an elegant suit and with a serious expression, but at the same time surprised to see him. Liam blinked, stunned. Ava! She smiled, recognizing him immediately. Liam. The room was silent for a few seconds, while they both tried to process this unexpected reunion. So, she said, crossing her arms, do you work for the company that left us waiting yesterday? Liam felt a lump in his throat. And are you the CEO of Harper Industries? Ava nodded, with an enigmatic smile. Liam realized at that moment that fate had just given him a second chance. And maybe this reunion would change his life in ways he could never have imagined. Liam was still trying to process what was happening. Ava, that same shy girl he used to share his lunch with in school, was now sitting across from him as CEO of Harper Industries, the company that could decide his professional future. She was looking at him with a curious and, at the same time, amused look. "Well, this is a surprise," she said, crossing her arms. Liam took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure. "Yeah, definitely a surprise. I don't even know what to say." "You can start by explaining why your company kept me waiting yesterday," Ava said, arching an eyebrow. Liam felt a chill in his stomach. "It was a miscommunication, Ava. I came here today to fix that and try to make sure our partnership is still possible." She was silent for a moment, studying him. "So now you work in contracts? I never imagined you in that line of work." "Neither did I," Liam admitted, laughing nervously. "But life takes us on unexpected paths." Ava smiled slightly and shook her head. "Well, Liam, business is business. This wasn't a small problem. Your company wasted our time, and time, as you know, costs money. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't end this contract now." Liam knew he was facing a challenge. But more than that, he was facing someone who had once been important to him. "Ava, I know my company made a mistake, but I want to assure you that we are committed to providing the best service. I have brought you a new proposal, adjusted to make up for any inconvenience this may have caused." She took the papers he handed her and flipped through them silently. "Sounds fair," she murmured. Liam held his breath. "But I haven't decided yet." He blinked. "What do you mean?" Ava rested her elbows on the table and smirked. "I want dinner first." Liam frowned, confused. "Dinner?" "Yes," she said. "We both have a lot of catching up to do. Let's go out tonight and talk. Maybe after that, I'll make my decision about the contract." Liam didn't know if he was being tested or if Ava just wanted to reminisce about old times. Either way, he couldn't turn down this chance. "Okay," he said. "Let's have dinner." Ava smiled. "Great. I'll email you the details." "See you later, Liam." He left the meeting feeling like his life had just taken an unexpected turn. What he didn't know was that this dinner would change everything. Liam spent the rest of the day unable to focus on work. His mind was stuck on this unexpected reunion. Ava, CEO of a big company. Who would have thought? He wasn't sure what to expect from the dinner, but one thing was for sure. He had to convince Ava to close the deal. Late that afternoon, he put on his best suit and headed to the restaurant she'd recommended. It was a fancy place, and Liam wondered if he was wearing anything formal enough. When he walked in, he looked for Ava and found her sitting at a private table, fiddling with her phone. When she looked up and saw him, she smiled. "You came?" "Of course. You practically conditioned my future on this dinner," he joked, pulling out a chair. Ava laughed, and in that moment, Liam realized that, despite her professional demeanor, there were still traces of the shy girl he'd known. "Don't be so tense," she said, crossing her arms. "Let's forget about business for a moment. I want to know what happened to you after I moved." Liam took a deep breath. "Well, I finished school, went to college, and ended up going into business. But what about you? How did you end up here?" Ava took a sip of wine before answering. "My mom got a better job when we moved. That changed everything. I worked hard at school, got a scholarship, and years later, I landed a job at this company. Eventually, I was promoted to CEO." "That's impressive," Liam said genuinely. "I always knew you were brilliant." Ava smiled, but her eyes held a different emotion. "You know, Liam, you might not remember, but when I was a kid, I would go days without knowing if I would have anything to eat. My mom would do what she could, but it wasn't always enough." Liam nodded, feeling a lump in his throat. I remember. And then you came along, offering me snacks every day, without asking for anything in return. You have no idea how much that meant to me." Liam fell silent. He had never thought about the real impact of that gesture. To him, it had just been something natural, a way to help someone in need. Ava continued, "I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten how you made me feel visible. Important." He felt his chest warm. "I'm glad you did. But, Ava, I was just doing what anyone should do." "No, Liam. Not everyone would. You made a difference in my life." They looked at each other for a few seconds, until Ava took her glass and raised it in the air. "So, let's toast." "To what?" he asked, raising his glass too. Ava smiled. "To the friendships that shape our destinies." They toasted, and in that moment, Liam realized that this dinner was not just about business. It was about something much bigger. Ava placed her glass on the table and sighed. "About the contract." Liam held his breath. "Yes?" She smiled. "Consider it done." Liam blinked, surprised. "Really?" "I had already decided before you even walked into that room earlier today. But I wanted to see if you were still the same person you were years ago." Liam laughed, relieved. "And what was your conclusion?" "That some things never change." They continued talking, reminiscing about old times, laughing at forgotten moments, and realizing that, despite the time, the connection between them was still there. As they left the restaurant, Ava looked at Liam and smiled again. "You know, I think I still owe you a snack." Liam laughed. "Then I think we need to schedule another dinner." Ava raised an eyebrow. "Deal?" "Deal." And so it was that, many years later, a simple snack from recess came back to change both of their lives in ways they could never have imagined. The following days were hectic for Liam. With the contract closed, his company celebrated the achievement, and he received praise for having managed to turn the situation around. But for him, the greatest gift from that negotiation was not his professional success. It was Ava. They continued to exchange messages after dinner, arranging to meet up and reminiscing about more childhood stories. Over time, Liam realized that what he felt for Ava went beyond gratitude or the friendship they shared as children. He liked being with her. He liked the way she smiled when he made bad jokes, the way she frowned when she was concentrating, and the sparkle in her eyes when they talked. About the future. One night, they were sitting on the terrace of a cafe, looking out at the city lights, when Ava made a comment that took Liam by surprise. "You know, Liam, I always wondered what would have happened if I had never moved." Liam looked at her curiously. "What do you mean?" She sighed softly, stirring her coffee cup. "When we were kids, I didn't realize it. But now I see that you were the first person who truly cared about me. You changed my life." He smiled, feeling his heart race. "Well, you changed mine too?" Ava turned to him, and for the first time, Liam felt that maybe this conversation was leading to something more. "If I had stayed," she continued, "do you think we would have stayed together?" Liam held his breath for a moment before answering. "I don't know, but I would have tried." The silence between them was full of meaning. Ava smiled, and without hesitation, took Liam's hand. "Then I guess now we can find out." Liam felt a wave of happiness wash over him. Holding her hand tightly, he knew that somehow, fate had brought them together again. It had all started with a shared snack at recess, years ago. Now, that same gesture had led them to an unexpected reunion and perhaps a new beginning. Because some stories, no matter the time or distance, are destined to continue.